Monsieur le Marquis.
I'm listening, Aegis.
Goodbye, Monsieur le Marquis. Monsieur Necker.
Madame? Eh bien, do you come bearing good news?
Your wife. You may rest easy, monsieur. Your wife escaped the massacre. She returned home and left you this letter.
Mon Dieu. She's going to meet our daughter and son-in-law at our charity hospital.
She may already be there.
Madame, I did not dare to dream of such an outcome. My wife and daughter. Can you imagine? And I thought I had lost both of them. The three of us will be able to leave the kingdom and put these horrors behind us forever.
What about the bonds?
Oh, the bonds. Do with them as you see fit. As long as the king does not use them. As for me, I'm going to find my family at once. Thank you. From the bottom of my heart. I pray that your efforts will be successful. Adieu, madame. Adieu.
Minister Necker has given his bonds to me.
That's quite a nice little sum. Can you imagine? That's 1/5 of the kingdom's entire wealth.
Wealth that the king squanders for his personal benefit according to his whims.
Ma foi. Monsieur Necker certainly has been very generous to his adoptive country.
Generous? I have my doubts. The loan was granted at a very high rate. So high, in fact, that it would have dug the deficit into an even deeper state of abyss.
Eh bien, monsieur. To what use shall we employ this boonful fortune?
If I could spend it, I'd do everything I could to return to the people their confiscated freedom. To begin, I would get them the bread they so sorely need. It is only after the scourge of famine has been vanquished that armed patriots might then be able to rise up against despotism.
And where will you find wheat, Robespierre? Will you steal it from under the noses of the automats who have sworn to destroy the human race? As for arming the people, this is another one of your delusions. How could your ragged pack of wretches win any sort of battle that'd be unable to lift a sword?
When you insult the people, you insult me, Monsieur de Lafayette.
I am not insulting anyone, Robespierre. But I happen to know what it takes to fight. Unlike you. Monsieur, I was but a lad of 15 when I took up arms. And everyone here knows my role in the liberation of America from British rule. If you allow me to dispose of these bonds, I will found an army that will annihilate the Clockwork King's diabolical machines. As soon as I have the opportunity to leave Paris, I will rally the officers and troops that are stationed in the provinces. Then, I will call for a mass uprising. I will have more than enough money to pay their wages and procure the weapons we need.
And you will have obedient troops at your beck and call, ready to repress anyone who challenges your power.
These troops will only serve the will of the people. I swear it.
Are you sure that the king has spared the rest of the kingdom, Monsieur le Marquis?
I am almost certain of it, mon père. Despite all of his resources, the king does not have enough manpower to occupy all the garrisons in the country.
Aegis, no member of this assembly can force your hand. The choice is yours. To whom will you entrust Monsieur Necker's bonds?
General de Lafayette, I have decided to use these bonds for your cause. I urge you to put them to good use.
You've made the right choice, Dancer. Only professional soldiers and well-trained conscripts stand a chance of winning back the kingdom.
And of course, the people will have to kneel before their liberators. History will recall that sad day when we had to put our fate in the hands of an automat. If only her creator had given her a heart. Alas, she could not help but be blind to the people's misfortune.
Monsieur B. I found this box with astronomical symbols on it. I believe it belongs to Vaucanson's daughter.
Athenais' secret box. I built it with my own hands. It was my gift to her on her 15th birthday.
I wasn't able to open it.
Naturellement. Athenais and I are the only ones who know how. Allow me. You must arrange the planets the way they were aligned on the day of Athenais' birth. Voila, like this.
What's this locket?
Athenais is always wearing this. It contains a portrait of her late mother. She said it was her most cherished possession in all the world. To think, the poor child never knew her own mother.
Lydia! You monster! What did you do to her?
Good God. Lydia, what happened? You froze the moment you touched the locket. I thought I'd lost you.
I saw her. Athenais de Vaucanson. The Comte de Cagliostro has her.
Mon Dieu. It is just as I feared.
He bound her spirit to an automat.
Please, say no more. Athenais. It is her spirit that animates you. Is it not?
Yes. I believe so.
Seigneur, quelle abomination. It is vital that you go and find Athenais as soon as possible.
She is right in front of you. I am Athenais.
Alas, I fear that is not entirely accurate. You know nothing of Athenais, Lydia. Nothing of her past, her joys, her suffering. Nothing of her love for her father. You are but the vessel that harbors the poor child's soul.
Where can I find Athenais' body?
God only knows. Although I assume that the Comte de Cagliostro is taking pains to keep her alive. This is certainly the only way to keep her spirit alive in you. The only way to free her is to find her body.
Why was Eugène de Vaucanson imprisoned in the Bastille?
Once he discovered the king's true intentions, he refused to continue cooperating with him. He refused to use his talents to create this abominable army. But the king didn't take kindly to his resignation. Eugène did manage to get a letter to me just before he was arrested. Here, take it.
Monsieur Raymond,
Go on, Aegis.
I went to the Hotel de Massiac as agreed. What I discovered goes beyond your darkest conjectures. The club's members have no intention of merely depriving their slaves of rest. Rather, with the king's support, they plan to replace them with automat harvesters. The Count of Cagliostro is behind the plan.
Ma foi. But such a plan would certainly only improve the lot of these unfortunate people.
You are mistaken, mon père. If the planters get their way, they will have a greater need of slaves than ever. Only this time, they intend to slaughter them to power their machines.
Quelle abomination!
Par tous les saints.
4 days ago, the Paris Guard captured 100 black people. They were to be sacrificed as part of an experiment to test the effectiveness of the automat harvesters. Luckily, I was able to prevent the massacre.
Where are they now?
In a place they call the Dépôt des Noirs. I don't know where it is, but I managed to get the key. It bears the inscription, Tour du Diable.
The Devil's Tower is a prison in Vincennes, within the chateau walls.
That's 3 leagues from here. We'll only be able to free the prisoners once we're able to move freely ourselves.
At least they were spared the fate that the king and his accomplices had planned for them.
And what will you do with the 2 servants you employ, Monsieur Raymond?
I will continue to treat them well, as I always have.
However, under the laws you insist on following, they will become slaves again the moment they leave the kingdom for Saint-Domingue.
Certainly not, Monsieur de Robespierre. What kind of a man would I be if what I have heard had not opened my eyes? The planters of Massiac have been proven to be nothing but avaricious murderers. I thought I was dealing with opposition, but now I discover them to be vile enemies, from whom it would be vain to expect any compromise. From this day on, I will fight against their interests with all my strength, and will not lay down my arms until the last slave in the Empire has been freed.
Rest assured, then, that the people will fight by your side, Monsieur Raymond.
That's the spirit, my friends. Vive l'égalité! Can I help you, Aegis?
What is the significance of these objects steeped in memories?
Nemes. I have reread every work that I have on them. Pages that have remained unintelligible to this day. These echoes go back to the beginning of time, to that fateful day in ancient Greece when some dark magician took it into his head to bind a soul to an inanimate object. You see, Aegis, there is nothing more diabolical, nothing more unnatural than this sorcery. The soul is the very essence of the divine. It refuses to submit to such an abomination and resists, eventually breaking. The earliest necromancers whose works have survived through the centuries all describe the same phenomenon. When a soul is fragmented, 3 shards of memory are torn from its consciousness and take shelter in 3 objects that the victim held dear. It's as if these memories wish to remain bound to the mortal who had held them until then.
I found this notebook written in Latin.
Indeed. Medieval Latin, to be precise. Oh, hold on. Bon sang. Aegis, what a find. This handwriting. I would recognize it anywhere. It's in Nicholas Flamel's own hand. Give me some time to study this, and I'll tell you what I'm able to glean from it.
Have you finished reading the notebook, mon père?
Yes, Aegis, and what I learned from it puzzles me. In this diary, Flamel tells of 3 journeys. 3 journeys into what he calls the in-between. A strange world filled with wandering souls. Tormented spirits that are unable to ascend to heaven.
This world. It's where Cagliostro's victims were trapped until I freed them.
En effet, I believe you're right. But that's not all. Flamel planned to return there a 4th time. He wrote this in the final paragraph, in his handwriting, dated 21st of March 1418. That was the day before he died, Aegis. What if his body died while his soul was traveling through limbo? What if he were trapped, a prisoner in this purgatory? Aegis, because of your unique nature, we have an incredible opportunity.
What do you mean, mon père?
If the soul that animates you has been bound to the automaton that serves as its vessel, then it can be separated from it too. And if this were the case, the soul would travel to purgatory, where Cagliostro entraps the souls of his victims.
Hold on. Are you trying to convince me to go and find Nicholas Flamel?
I'm offering you a chance to speak to the man who discovered the Philosopher's Stone. Surely you won't pass it up.
Assuming I agree to venture into purgatory, do I even have a chance of finding him there?
Certainly. According to this journal, the soul flies to the zenith of the place where it left the body of the deceased. Or that of the pilgrim, in this case. If Flamel's soul is trapped in purgatory, as we've guessed, you'll need to go to the house where he drew his dying breath.
Is it still standing?
Of course. It's on Rue de Montmorency, in the quartier de l'Hôtel de Ville. You can get there via the cemetery of the Église Saint-Jacques.
And how do you plan to free my spirit from this automat?
We would simply need to break the bond between them. To do this, we would need to stop your machinery. For a short time, of course. We don't want to lose you, ma chère. As for the rest, it will be a question of mechanics, chemistry, or electric currents, or something or other. Therein lies the problem. This is far beyond my comprehension. But it is fascinating, isn't it? Perhaps Monsieur Bailly and Monsieur Lavoisier could shed some light on the matter.
Goodbye, mon père. Monseigneur.
What can I do for you, Aegis?
Goodbye, Monseigneur.
Allez en paix, Aegis.
Have you learned more about the bond between your spirit and your body?
No, mon père. Who would know more?
Perhaps Monsieur Bailly and Monsieur Lavoisier could shed some light.
Goodbye, mon père. Monsieur Lavoisier,
What can I do for you, Aegis?
do you think there is any way to interrupt my internal clockwork?
To what end?
I would like to briefly sever the bond between my spirit and this automat.
It is a very strange request, madame. For what purpose do you seek to free your soul from its shell?
According to the abbot, my spirit would then be able to visit purgatory.
Oh, that dreadful place. Why on earth would you want to go there?
I hope to find answers to some very important questions.
You must understand, madame, that your very nature is a mystery to us. We are ignorant as to the principle that imbues you with life, nor do we know how your machinery works. That is why it is impossible for us to make even the slightest alteration. It would mean taking an unacceptable risk. Of course, if we had documents that could shed light on the matter.
Antoine, the blueprints.
What blueprints, mon ami?
Ludia's. Eugène gave them to me when he was working on the modifications ordered by the king. He wanted my opinion on the potential for reducing the size of certain key parts. The documents are obsolete now, but they could tell us quite a bit about the mechanical principles that are shared by Ludia and Aegis.
Bon sang, you're right. Where are the blueprints now?
Alas, the situation is not in our favor. I kept them in the safe at the observatory, but earlier, when I went there to collect my most important documents, before setting off for the convent, I found looters making off with its contents.
Blasted scavengers. Their kind are always quick to make the most of chaos.
I chased them to the keys, but was unable to apprehend them. When they disappeared into an underground passageway under the Louvre, I decided it was best not to follow them.
You acted wisely, mon ami. The automats are everywhere, and the marauders don't stand much of a chance.
I'll try to track them down. The clues I found at the warehouse suggest that the gunpowder was moved to the Bastille.
Diable. You must find a way to get there and put an end to this threat.
Goodbye, Monsieur Lavoisier.
Did you find the blueprints that were stolen from me?
No, monsieur.
Don't forget that those documents are our only chance to discover what was used to craft you. The looters disappeared into the tunnels under the Louvre and the Tuileries. I find it hard to believe that they were able to escape from that maze safely.
Goodbye, Monsieur B.
So how is Monsieur Marat?
I haven't met him yet.
He is your only chance to reach the Bastille, Aegis. You must speak to him. He's holed up in the quarries of Montmartre, hiding from the Marquis de Lafayette.
I found a cane engraved with the name Franciscus Antonius. Who could it belong to?
Let me think a moment, je vous prie. I know an Antoine Francois, a printer on Rue de la Harpe. His surname is Momoro, but he is a man of the people and a true patriot. I doubt that he ever sported a cane with his name engraved on it.
As for the lanterns...
Did Monsieur de Laclos tell you the secret of his explosive cannonball?
No, we didn't talk about it.
That's a pity. Without his help, our strategy is doomed to failure. Let's see. I know he's close to Monsieur Marat, the patriotic journalist. He's currently in hiding in the quarries of Montmartre. But please do not breathe a word of this to the Marquis de Lafayette. Those two are at daggers drawn. It would certainly end in a bloodbath.
Were you present when the Estates General was dissolved?
Oui, madame. I had a front row seat. We laid bare before the king the abject, so he had the people's At least we only had to contend with soldiers made positively angelic.
Goodbye, Monsieur de Robespierre. Monsieur de Mirabeau. I found a broken cane. It says Franciscus Antonius on it. Do you know who it belongs to?
Well, I never. Yes, I know the owner. And I'm willing to bet you're looking for a certain Francois Antoine.
That's right.
Well, you'd need to look a little further east, mademoiselle. Across the Rhine for a start. Because this cane belongs, or belonged, to a certain Franz Anton Mesmer.
Mesmer, the prince of charlatans.
Good heavens, it's been a long time since I've heard his name.
5 years to be exact since your learned commission denounced his theories.
It wasn't long after that when he disappeared.
Can you tell me more about Mesmer?
He was a mystical healer who was once popular with the upper class. I myself attended several of his sessions.
You mentioned a commission.
The king did not look kindly on the healer's popularity within the court. This led him to appoint a commission from the Royal Academy of Sciences.
An institution to which Monsieur Bailly and I have the honor to belong. We were asked to investigate his alleged powers.
The experiments that we performed allowed us to determine that Monsieur Mesmer's activities were pure charlatanism, a conclusion that destroyed his successful career the moment it was published.
But there was something, Sylvain. A tiny flow of energy that my devices were able to measure.
My dear colleague, must I remind you again that we were never able to reproduce your observations? It was obviously a momentary failure of your equipment.
Perhaps. I'd like to be sure of it.
When and how did Monsieur Mesmer disappear?
The denunciation of his techniques was the start of a long descent into hell for Monsieur Mesmer. He was abandoned by his clients and resumed his research in virtual secrecy. I think he was hoping to perfect his so-called science and restore his reputation with the Academy.
A hope that led him to associate himself with that dastardly Cagliostro. God only knows what experiments they may have carried out. In any case, their collaboration did not last long. Monsieur Mesmer left the kingdom overnight to return to his mother country.
Why did he leave so quickly?
That is a mystery. But those who saw him that morning say it was as if he had the devil at his heels.
This is true. He left in such a hurry that he abandoned everything he owned. Furniture, belongings, and scientific equipment. And it seems that Cagliostro has inherited this treasure.
Is that so? Well, if what you say is true, that broken cane must have passed into the Count's hands.
Yes, it's likely.
This adventurer from who knows where is quite the mysterious character. And he has been very busy recently. I've been able to observe him from my apartment, making frequent visits to Rue Saint-Honoré, on the Tuileries side. I wonder what he was doing there.
What were Monsieur Mesmer's theories?
He is a proponent of a theory called animal magnetism. He claimed to be able to channel a purported universal healing fluid by passing his hands over patients and using magnets.
He also cobbled together a whole array of mad devices, each stranger than the last. Unfortunately, despite all his attempts, I don't know that he ever cured anyone.
What happened during Monsieur Mesmer's treatment sessions?
Oh, they were quite a spectacle to behold. Imagine well-born ladies afflicted with perfectly imaginary illnesses. A dimly lit room where incense has been burned to intoxicate the soul and cloud your vision. Amiable servants, half-dressed, gliding from countess to duchess to the sound of a sensual melody. And the great Mesmer, a doctor with wandering hands, presiding over the wonderful scene. Oh, you should have seen them. Those grand ladies moaning, crying, and falling into a swoon, clinging to that strange tub. Du théâtre, ma chère. Pure theater.
Monsieur de Mirabeau. What does this letter mean?
Who gave you the right to read my correspondence?
I'm curious about how you got rid of Italia. As if it burned your fingers.
To tell you the truth, you're not entirely wrong. It is a missive sent by my father, the Marquis de Mirabeau, the scoundrel who shamelessly dares to call himself the friend of man. He writes to say that he is on the brink of death, in such a desperate state that he has received extreme unction. This reprobate used his final moments on this mortal plane to send me threats yet again. He swears that he will torment me from beyond the grave.
How is that possible?
To my knowledge, he has not yet deigned to shuffle off this mortal coil. In any case, the satisfaction of knowing he is dead would not assuage my concern. This man is more persistent than the plague. He's capable of anything. He has spent his entire life persecuting his family. And I believe he is ready to spend his eternal rest continuing to do the same. I need to know what he's planning.
Where is he now?
At his home in Argenteuil. Given the circumstances, going to ask him for an explanation is out of the question. But the man who heard his final confession is here.
Monseigneur de la Fare.
Precisely. Only this confounded shaveling refuses to tell me a word of what the old dragon confided to him. He stubbornly insists on the secrecy of confession. Bon sang. Will we ever be rid of these damned superstitions? Aegis, would you be so kind as to intercede with the bishop? Perhaps you will be able to make him change his mind.
Monseigneur.
What can I do for you, Aegis?
Monseigneur, I would like to talk to you about your recent meeting with the Marquis de Mirabeau.
What has gotten into all of you? This has gone on long enough. I will say it one last time and pray that they will finally leave me alone. Nothing and no one will make me violate the secrecy of his confession. Have I made myself clear?
Perfectly clear, Monseigneur. Monsieur de Mirabeau. Alas, the bishop stubbornly refused to reveal anything.
Damn it. I need to know what my rogue of a father is up to. Let me think. In light of the cartload of threats he sent me, it's safe to wager that my sister and mother received similar letters. They may even have already suffered his revenge. However, my sister lives in Grasse in the south of France. Unless a messenger rode 100 horses to death, she could not have received this letter. Then there is my poor mother.
If you ask me, I will go to find her.
Yes, it's very kind of you to offer. But I couldn't even tell you where she is staying.
Your own mother?
Indeed. It's a very embarrassing matter. A secret, which I beg you not to divulge.
I can be discreet. Rest assured.
Very well. You should know that my mother, the Countess of Covey, has lost everything. Truly. First her fortune, then her faculties. No matter what I tried, nothing could prevent her decline. It is said that she is now living on charity, in the most abject poverty in the slums of the Marais. If perchance your past takes you to this dreadful place, and if she still remembers who she is, perhaps you may meet her.
Monsieur le Marquis.
I'm listening, Aegis.
Goodbye, Monsieur le Marquis.
Can I help you, Aegis?
Goodbye, mon père. Monseigneur.
What can I do for you, Aegis?
Goodbye, Monseigneur.
Allez en paix, Aegis.
Monsieur Raymond.
Go on, Aegis.
You are quite a long way from home. Monsieur Raymond?
I haven't been back to Saint-Domingue in nearly 5 years. I left my most trusted men in charge of overseeing my indigo plantation. I came to France with the aim of having an audience with the king. I hoped to convince him to use his automats for agricultural work. I was of the belief that this was the best way to ease the suffering of our enslaved brethren. Alas, it was all for naught. I was only able to get an audience with the Minister of the Navy, and even that was granted reluctantly. Later, when the king convened the Estates General, my hopes were renewed. I saw it as an opportunity to make our voices heard. And then, mon Dieu, what a disaster, Aegis. What a complete disaster.
What fate does the kingdom reserve for those with black skin?
According to tradition, any enslaved person who sets foot on French soil is freed.
This rule is most problematic in the eyes of planters in the colonies, who would seek to maintain their precious labor force.
This is why, for the past 12 years, no black people have been allowed to disembark in any of the kingdom's ports. Those who accompany their masters on the journey are imprisoned in the Admiralty's jails the moment they leave the ship. As for those who manage to evade the authorities, they live in fear of the raids carried out by the Marshalsea.
Are you not subject to these laws, Monsieur Raymond?
I am fortunate enough to have been born a subject of the king through my father, and also to have received an education, and to be wealthy.
Naturally, that makes all the difference.
What is the aim of this organization?
We publish articles and exert our influence on those who are in a position to improve the lot of our unfortunate brethren. Our numbers grow by the day, and we have many illustrious members, such as the Comte de Mirabeau and the Marquis de Lafayette. But it was Monsieur Brissot and the abbot that founded the group.
Good old Brissot. Shouldn't he be here by now?
Yes, mon père. He should have arrived hours ago. Alas, there has been no sign of him.
I hope to God that no misfortune has befallen him.
See you later, perhaps.
Did you find the blueprints that were stolen from me?
No, monsieur.
Don't forget that the looters I find it hard to believe that they were able to escape from that maid.
Goodbye, Monsieur B. Monsieur Lavoisier.
What can I do for you, Aegis?
The clues I found at the warehouse.
Diable! You must find a way to...
Goodbye, Monsieur Lavoisier.